Hey everyone, welcome to Quantum Nomads. It's Formula Friday, everybody. We have a very special guest today, the creator of the Limbic Arc technology. We're going to be talking about a technology for all the new people. You're going to hear people's experience with this technology, and as a special treat today, you're actually going to find out how it works from the creator of the technology. This is so huge. Before we get started, I'm just going to start with a disclaimer here. The Limbic Arc technology isn't intended to diagnose, cure, or treat any disease or medical condition. With that, we're going to start with a few testimonials, and these are people's personal experiences with the Limbic Arc technology. So let's start with Brian Strubar. We're going to head over to you, Brian.
Hey, great. How are you, Dan? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Awesome. Well, let me just share with you guys real quick. I was in a car accident about 4 years ago on April 15th and broke my back in a couple of places. I had like 5 broken ribs. And so I was in a lot of pain off and on, sometimes daytime, sometimes nighttime. But for basically 3.5, almost 4 years now, I've been in a lot of pain and just was getting used to it. When Bob shared this with me, of course, I was very skeptical, didn't really believe it could do anything for me because other than my back pain, I don't really have many health issues other than I like to eat a lot. And so I tried it, and about 3.5 hours later, I noticed that my back pain just kind of vanished, and it had been kind of a dull ache through the day. And that was actually 2 weeks ago yesterday. It has not been back, which is, thank God for me, because it's an awesome way to live without pain again. My wife, of course, was skeptical, but after 2 days of me no pain, she decided to try it and see what it would do for her. She has plantar fasciitis and a couple of bone spurs. I believe it's in her right foot. And about 24 hours later, she noticed, of course, the custom and the Spark scan had told her she needed some stuff, whatever the ingredients were, I don't remember the names, for swelling and cramps and some pain and some different things. So she turned it on. And 24 hours later, she noticed her swelling in her ankles had gone way down. She also noticed that she could now see the blood veins and her ankle bones, which was weird because she hadn't seen them in months. And so that was crazy. She was kind of surprised. And I noticed that she got up from the chair and walked around the room a few times across the kitchen, whatever, without her special orthotic shoes on. And I said, well, what happened to your feet? Don't your feet still hurt? And she said, well, no, not right now. And I said, well, they always did. And she goes, yeah, they have. And it had been close to a year, maybe a year and a half. She hadn't even been able to get out of bed and go to the restroom without wearing her shoes, or she would almost have to crawl back. So that's pretty crazy. But to top it off, about 3 or 4 days ago, I think it was her pain and her custom one ended up at the same time. And she didn't notice it for a couple hours until her pain started coming back. She quick jumped on her app, turned it back on, and it went away almost immediately. She said like a half hour or so. The pain went away again. So it's pretty awesome. I would recommend try it, at least give it a chance and see what happens for you. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much, Brian. That's amazing. That's incredible. And just for the new people, we meet here every day and we share experiences with each other. You're going to actually hear about this technology in detail, but we just share our personal experiences. We're on this health journey, I guess you could call it, and we just care about each other. So you just happen to find a group of people that are just caring for each other and loving each other, and we're just having a blast. We're addicted to each other's journeys, health journeys. We come here every day. So it's a lot of fun. It's really exciting. With that, I'm going to turn it over to one of our long timers. He's been here over a month, every single day. Ron Murray. I caught him off guard. There you go.
What you did. I was sitting there waiting, who are you going to get? You know, I'm enjoying this so much. I was down in Green Bay twice this week and traveled down there with no pain. And on my way down, I was just calm and collect. And, you know, I knew I was driving into mystery land, as I call it now, because there's, you know, nobody around down there in Green Bay. And I had to go to a clinic, and they brought my shoes out that I was in there, and they apologized profusely, you know, for the trouble they caused. That's my third trip down there. and it was basically their screw ups, you know. And I just want to say that if that had been 6 months ago or 3 months ago or even 2 months ago, I would have just flew off the handle and chewed leather with him, for cause, because it's almost 50 miles one way down there, so that takes up a good part of my day. But anyway, I got on this a month ago, and I was just in excruciating pain. And after being on it 2.5 days, it was just like somebody threw a magic switch, all my pain left. I couldn't believe it, and I still can't. I get up every day and I'm going, where's my pain? I miss it almost because it lived with me for so long. But boy, I'll tell you, as my body feel good, even when I have my down days, I mess around with these boosts and I get into detox, and that's okay. I'm in a hurry, I'm older, so but even that, I just feel wonderful. I can't say enough. And with that change, I noticed yesterday with my ability to just accept things and not get, because it didn't go my way, and not get fired up over it was just amazing to me. It's just another big bonus in there. And I'm just going to let it off now. I know we're pressed for time. So just try it. Man, oh man, you won't regret it.
Thank you so much, Ron. That's amazing. And I've just seen, hey, Rick Fenton, if you could just unmute, we'd really love to hear your testimonial with the no smoking. That sounds amazing. If you can unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I actually, with the help of Carl, who helped me set it up 2 days ago, set up the non-smoking boost. That in any event, the long and short of it is, I've tried so many times, and I mean everything you could think of to quit. I wanted to quit so bad. I had a minor stroke. The doctor basically told me, I'm, a fool if I keep smoking. And I tried and tried, but, Carl helped me set this thing up, and I can't even explain it because I have no urge, no withdrawal, no nothing. And I haven't smoked a cigarette, and I am ecstatic. I'm so excited to be able to breathe and stuff again. So, that's just amazing to me, because if you only knew how hard I tried, and I just couldn't no matter what. So I'm very excited about that.
Hey, Rick, real quick, how long has it been since you went 2 days without smoking?
Oh my God. I'm 50. I'm going to be 59 in a couple weeks. And I started really smoking when I was about 14, like a jerk. So it's many moons. And the thing that blows my mind is I can't believe that I am not experiencing withdrawals, nothing. I can't. It's just mind-boggling that I have, no withdrawal, no nothing. So very excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's super cool. We've gotten a few stop smoking testimonials. I think that's going to be really popular. I think it's going to be a popular one. Just one more quick testimonial, and then we're going to get to the creator of this technology. I know you're busy, Carl, trying to figure out how to up our limit because we maxed out at 100, and he's trying to up it to let.
I paid for it, but it didn't do it on my room, so I'm trying to figure out how to fix that.
Yeah, well, just take a quick break from it, and I just want to hear your vision testimonial, and what's the deal with your vision?
Well, this is, and it's my most sensitive part, to be quite honest with you. I have a disease called keratoconus in my eyes. So what's happening is that the cornea in my eye is thinning to a point where I'll go blind. There's no cure for it other than a cornea transplant, which has a 50-50 shot. They say it's more positive than negative, but I rather just go the natural route. So for the last 5 years, I've been going to my specialist, my eye specialist, and every year my eyesight has been deteriorating. I started using the vision now going on probably 7 weeks now. And a week and a half ago, I went to my specialist, and for the first time in 5 years, my vision improved. In 7 years, I haven't had 20/20 vision in my right eye. I now have 20/20 vision in my right eye. I don't know how it works. Thank you very much, Dr. Cook. I don't know how this did it, but it has done something to me because I haven't changed my diet or anything. And I even have a 2% increase in my left eye, so I went from 10% to 12%. That may not sound like a whole lot to people, but I have had the worst case of night blindness, whereas I couldn't determine anything. I couldn't determine curbs or anything. Everything was flat. When people came up to me, even up to about 3 feet away, their canvas was black. I couldn't see their faces. That's how bad my night blindness was. Headlights on cars, I could never see them. It was just a straight bar of light. Fireworks off of every single light that was out there. They call that starbursts and halos. That's all I ever saw. Now, for the first time, I can actually see headlights of cars. I can actually see the actual frame of a car at night. And when I go and walk with my wife, I can actually see her face.
Mm-hmm.
This happens to me every time I talk about my eyes. But it's just, you guys have no idea how precious that is to be able to see that and know that I really have a chance of having sight the rest of my life. And that's how big that is. I wish you guys didn't bring that up. I would have talked about everything else. But thanks. Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you,
Cook, for that, because you saved my eyesight. I know it's you.
Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable and getting honest with us. That's what I love about this community. Everyone gets real vulnerable and doesn't hide anything from anyone. And I always say, you guys always hear me say, what we can't do alone, we can do together. And that's what's really happening here. We're all together as a community, just caring about each other and sending positive energy. And now I'm really excited. All the new people here, you've been hearing these personal experiences from people that have been using this technology called Limbic Arc technology. Now you're going to get to hear from the creator. For some reason, our room maxed out at 100 people. There's probably hundreds of people trying to get on here right now. So you guys are really privileged to be live here. And they say the early bird gets the worm, and you guys were really smart for being early right now. So without further ado, I'm just gonna introduce Dr. Vaughn Cook. He's a doctor of Oriental medicine. He's the founder and chairman for the Zyto Corporation, which he'll probably talk about in a little bit. He's also the founder and founder of the Limbic Arc company, but also the creator of the Limbic Arc technology. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Vaughn Cook. I just want to ask you one question to get started. I'd really like to just start with your background so we can get to know you better. Like, who is Dr. Vaughn Cook, and when did you get into the quantum space?
I guess we've always been in the quantum space.
Oh, yeah.
I got started in energy medicine back in the mid 80s. I actually, when I was younger, I had bad allergies, and I kind of outgrew them. But during the time when I had bad allergies, when I say bad allergies, I mean really bad allergies. I suffered horrendously, and I tried everything from steroid shots to any prescription medication that was on the market. And at best, I would get maybe a 2-day relief from any of that. So I just learned to live with it. Fortunately, as I got older, I outgrew it until in the early 80s, I was married at the time. We had some children. My wife and I moved our family down to Las Vegas, Nevada. And when we got there, allergies came back with a vengeance. And I had a neighbor who was a dentist. His name was Bill Roberson. And Bill, incidentally, let me interrupt myself right now. Occasionally I get a notice here that says my internet is unstable. If I break up, let me know, because I can turn the video off and that would probably help. So just let me know. Anyway, I was talking to Bill about my allergies, and he told me that he used, just as a hobby, some technology that he called electroacupuncture according to Vaughn. And it didn't mean anything to me, but he said, you're probably just sensitive to something in your yard that you're not used to. So go around tomorrow and break a twig off everything in your yard. And at 5 o'clock, when I close my clinic, be down here and I'll test you and see what you're reacting to. So the next day I showed up with 3 big grocery sacks full of twigs. And Bill took out this device. It was essentially an ohm meter, and he started to test. And I held on to the handle, which was the ground, and he took a little stylus and he would touch it on certain points on my hand. And he would then put a twig on top of his machine. It had a metal plate on top. And as he would test, then the meter on the machine would deflect. And anyway, he explained the process to me. And when we got done, he said, the only 2 things you're showing a reaction to are oleanders and pyracantha. And so, and I thought, okay, that makes sense because I'm not used to that. We didn't have them where we moved from. And he then went to his cupboard and he pulled out another machine and he got a little bottle, a little dropper bottle, and he put some alcohol in it. And he put the oleander and the pyracantha twig in one of the wells on top of this machine, and he put this dropper bottle with the alcohol in it. It was actually vodka. It wasn't rubbing alcohol. And he put that in the other side, and he twisted some dials. And he told me that what was happening is, he said, this machine will take the energy from the twigs and transfer it onto the water molecule and the alcohol molecule in the bottle. And I thought, well, that sounds weird, but okay. You know, there was two things that were going for me. One was that Bill was a legitimate guy and he had a legitimate practice. And so I thought, well, you know, this may sound goofy, but he doesn't seem to be a goofy guy. And then the other thing I had going for me was my allergies were so bad that I would have done anything to get relief. And so I was open to whatever he might suggest. When he finished, he handed me the bottle and he said, take 10 drops of this 3 times a day, just put it under your tongue. So I went home and did it religiously. And 10 days after I started, my allergy symptoms just stopped immediately. It was like God reached his finger up my nose and turned the valve off. It was that dramatic. My brain itch went away, my throat itch went away, my ears stopped itching, my sinuses stopped running. It just stopped. And I thought, this is crazy. Nothing happens. Nothing I've ever tried in my whole life has been this dramatic. It can't be this crazy stuff in the bottle. So I thought, well, maybe the oleanders and the pyracantha have just stopped blooming. So I went outside and they were just going strong. The only explanation was this energy stuff in the bottle. Well, that started me on a path. So Bill introduced me to a medical doctor in Las Vegas named Fuller Royal. And Fuller introduced me to a physicist named Roy Curtin. And I ended up in a community like you folks.
Uh-oh, we may have lost them.
The EAV, the electroacupuncture according to Vaughn, and moved it down the road, advanced it down the road. And so I've been in clinical practice. I've been in the equipment business, the technology business for the last probably 36 plus years. And I graduated from acupuncture in Hawaii. I have a doctor's degree in Oriental medicine. I'm an Oriental medical doctor is my official title. That was from a school out of New Mexico. I have traveled all over the world because of my technology business. The company that that Dan mentioned is Zyto. I've had that company for about 16 years now. And so I've got a long background, a lot of experience, and fortunately have rubbed shoulders with a lot of really smart people from all over the place. And hopefully some of us rubbed off. But that's my background.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bob has the next question. You have to unmute, Bob. There we go.
I did. I think I unmuted and Carl muted me. Anyway, Dr. Cook, thanks for being on here with us today. Really appreciate it. So with that background and, you know, working with that for the last 36 years, Zyto for the last 16, the last 2 years of getting involved then with the Limbic Arc, what started you on that path to this technology that we're now using today and discovering?
In the mid 90s, I actually came up with the idea for Limbic Arc. And we built an early device that was designed to be a learning accelerator. The thought was we should be able to learn faster if we get essentially a quantum download as well as applying ourselves. And so what we built was a technology that we could take an unlimited amount of data and crunch it in a certain way. And then we didn't have the internet like we do today. And so we didn't have the elegant delivery system, but we actually would take the information out of the computer. We would then load it into a special capsule that we built. We called it a transfer capsule. We would then lay that capsule in a laser that we built. And then as we turned the laser light on, the data in the transfer capsule would actually affect the excitation of the laser beam. And in that way, we could transfer the data directly into a person by shining the laser beam on their skin. Back in the mid 90s, we didn't have the consciousness that we have now. And I should tell you, this technology worked. We actually ran a number of tests. We found that the first thing we found was you cannot get spontaneously smarter. We cannot take a digital quantum download, put it into your body, and all of a sudden the lights come on for you. You actually have to study, you have to apply yourself. But if you get the download and you apply yourself, you'll score. In our tests, we found that people would score between 10 and 30% better on the test if they got the download as opposed to those who didn't get the download. So with that technology in hand, then I went out to see if there was a market for it. And I found that the people that I explained it to, their eyes would immediately glaze over. It was just like, I might as well be talking to the wall. And so at that point, I realized we've got a technology here that's just not, the market's not ready for it, that we can't commercialize this in any significant way. And over the intervening 20, 25 years, more and more of us have become familiar with this whole concept of quantum, with the 0-point field, with data and information and what can be done with it. And so there really is a market today for this kind of stuff. And with that awareness then, we decided a couple of years ago, well, let's take another shot at this, except instead of developing it with a clunky delivery system, let's develop it with an elegant system that doesn't require any hardware. And the result, I think, speaks for itself.
Wow, awesome. Back to you, Dan. Thank you, Dr. Cook.
Okay,
Thank you.
I have an interesting question. What is the difference between taking physical ingredients and using the Limbic Arc technology? This is kind of a two-part question. What's the difference between that? And so do you need to take physical ingredients for the Limbic Arc, the information to work? Like, do you have to have physical vitamin C in your body for your brain to say, oh, this is what I do with vitamin C kind of thing?
The short answer is no, you don't have to have the physical item. I think that it helps to do it. What we built, because of this experience with the learning accelerator, knowing that you need some conscious involvement in the process, what we've done with Limbic Arc is we've added those text messages or those emails that get sent out periodically. So when you have an info boost going, the info boost data is being delivered to you 24/7. And periodically, we then ping you consciously to say, hey, you got something going here. And that engagement seems to be sufficient. The reason you don't need the substance is because your body is built to operate off of information. Now, let me qualify this, because you do need chemistry. You know, in order to function, I've got to eat calories and I've got to drink water. And so I've got to have some physical stuff go into my body. But it's the information that's contained in all any of the physical stuff I put in my body. It's the information that provides the instruction set to my body so that it knows what to do with it. And you don't necessarily have to have the physical stuff for your body to respond appropriately to the information. Our bodies are built to be incredibly redundant, meaning if one system in my body is not working properly, I probably have at least 2 or 3 other systems that can step in and perform the function close enough that it keeps me alive. And it's that redundancy that allows us to survive. So what we're providing with Limbic Arc is just pure information. And the reason why you might find that Limbic Arc becomes the silver bullet for you is because for some reason your body is not doing with the information it receives enough. And so what we're giving you, that's why we call it an info boost. It's an information boost. It's just additional information that you might be lacking or you might be ignoring for some reason. So I guess the answer is no, you don't need the physical stuff. But if I invited you over for Thanksgiving dinner and all I did was give you a turkey info boost, you'd go home hungry. So you do need some, you need food and you need chemistry, but not all the time.
Awesome. So the Limbic Arc technology, is it a more efficient way to get that information than from a physical ingredient?
Well, I think it's a different way. And if you, let's say that you've got a digestive problem, and that digestive problem prohibits you from digesting protein, you're going to have a problem because your body's not going to get any protein. And you're not going to get the protein, but you're not going to get the information that's contained with the protein. And that can be as devastating as not having the chemistry. And so what Limbic Arc, I think I don't want to make any medical claims here, but I think one feasible answer is why does this technology work? It's because it delivers information to you in a pathway that doesn't require digestion, for example. It doesn't require respiration. It doesn't require metabolic processes of any kind. It's an energy transfer at a quantum level, and your body receives the information through pathways that are probably more likely to be open than these other pathways.
Awesome. And Wendy Dayton asked, what is the difference between the Limbic Arc technology and other technologies such as like wearables with frequencies?
Well, ours is better. There's no question.
That's the short answer. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There's lots of ways that your body receives information. So, you can receive it by spoken word. You can read it by printed instruction, television, internet. So again, we're built to have all these redundancies in us. And the wearable frequencies, I think, are just another way to deliver it. I think the advantage that the Limbic Arc brings to us is versatility. It's not a wearable with just one frequency or one set of frequencies imprinted into it or programmed into it. You actually can get a variety of things, and it's an expanding library. The other nice thing about it with the Spark Scan is it's timely. In other words, today I might need these 5 ingredients, these boost ingredients, but in 2 weeks from now, I might need these 6 or 10, which are different. And Limbic Arc gives me the advantage of being able to receive benefit that has real-time value.
Awesome.
Hey Dan, I know you're on a roll right now. Can I ask Dr. Cook a question?
You sure can.
And this will probably go along with what you're going to say, and we talked about this, but you mentioned something about an expanding library. Can you expound on that at all, Dr. Cook?
Well, we have a request for more things than we actually have things. So we've got a long list of things that people have requested, and we will continue to add. For example, we've just built the info boost called Today's Immunity, and to fill that out, we actually added 5 or 6 more items to the library so we could include it in that info boost. And as we move downstream, we will continue to add more and more items. If I can ramble for just a minute.
Please.
You don't have to have everything in the world to get the job done. I remember back in the days of when I had a clinic in the Salt Lake area, and I had an acupuncturist who worked for me, and she used to test her patients on everything in our library. So we had this computerized library with thousands of things in it, and she would test her patients on everything. And whatever product showed up, then that's what she would want to give to her patient, because her thought was, well, I want to give them the very best, and if that's the very best for them, that's what I want to get. So we ended up ordering in a ton of products from companies that we had never done business with before. And of course, when you order a product in to give to a patient, you have to order more than one or you lose all your money on shipping. So we would order in 6 or 12. We ended up with a whole bunch of stuff in our pharmacy. And I remember looking at the financial statements at the end of the month, one month, and I thought, gosh, we're making money, but there's no cash. Where's it all going? And then I looked over at the balance sheet, and it's like, it's all going in the pharmacy. We're taking all of our profits and just buying extra stuff that we're never going to sell. So I got together with the people who worked for me. I had some acupuncturists, a naturopath, and some massage therapists. And we said, okay, it's obvious that we can't stock everything in the world, and we can't prescribe everything in the world. So we have to settle on something. And so what we did is we settled on a couple of nutrition companies, a company that had some great minerals, some Chinese herbs, so a limited amount. There was actually ended up to be 4 companies. And with those 4 companies, we then brought into our inventory a substantial amount of everything they offered. And we then would only test patients on the things that we actually had in our inventory. And what happened was our success actually improved because we became more expert in the things that we were dealing with. And those 4 companies provided us a broad enough coverage that it really gave us everything that a patient ever needed. So with that rambling, you know, our expectation with the Limbic Arc library is not to build a library with 10,000 things in it, but it's to build a library that's incredibly strategic so that we've got something for pretty much everything. And of course, we're not going to pretend that we know everything we should put in the library. And we do appreciate your input because a lot of you folks are smarter than we are, and you run across things that we don't run across. And if you can give us some good ideas, we really appreciate it. So we'll always be putting some experimental stuff in as well. But our goal is to have a very good library, not necessarily a very big library.
Elizabeth Allen asked if you can use this for babies and young children.
You can, yes. Yeah, and the way you would do that is this. Let's say that I've got well, it's easy for a young child to talk, but maybe let's say you have a baby that doesn't have the skill to push the targets on the tactile input for the spark scan, or maybe they can't make voice, spontaneously. You can actually you could actually be a surrogate for them. So let's say that I had a grandchild in my case that might be, a year old or 6 months old, and I could do the speaking and say, okay, I'm speaking on behalf of my grandchild, and then that will get a voice print that will be targeted to my grandchild. And then the target, I could hit that, on behalf of the grandchild. And so I act as a proxy or a surrogate, and it will direct the information. Then I'll have to set up an account, by the way, for the baby. So they'd have to have their own account, but that's the only requirement. And then I could be a surrogate, and that would help. So there really is no contraindication for this.
I was going to ask about that. So you have to set up an account with the baby's name, and does the address and all that have to be there?
Correct. Yeah, you'd put all the details in.
Awesome. Lynette Wells asked, when creating your energy footprint through the voice activation, why does it matter the phrases I select and the tone of voice I use? My aging parent speaks very slowly. Will that affect his spark scan?
The answer is yes. It all affects the spark scan. In fact, what you speak about affects the spark scan. So let me ramble a little bit more. At Zyto, my other company, we've got a lot of experience with voice analysis. We've been doing it for probably 12 or 15 years. Well, not 15, but almost 15 years. So what we've learned is your voice changes energetically topic to topic. So if I talk to you about my father and describe him to you, and then describe to you my mother, my voice, even though you still recognize it as being me talking, my voice energy actually will be different, because my experience with my father and my mother are different, and my perception of each of those people is also different. So knowing that, you can actually make your spark scan issue specific. If, for example, I have low back pain, then when I talk, I could talk about my low back pain. And then when I hit the target, what it does is it just hones the spark so that it actually is energetically tailored to whatever it is that I'm talking about. So every, your voice always makes a difference. Does it negate it? So in the case of your father who speaks slowly, don't worry about that. You just need to get whatever voice you get is going to be sufficient.
Glenn's asking, you know how you can use your voice, speak for a baby or a young child. Can you do that for someone in a coma? Would that work?
Yeah, I would think so. I would try it.
Yeah, it's always good to try stuff, right? Because
it's not going to hurt.
Right. And Dwayne Parsons is asking, how does the scan find the specific person's energy field anywhere in the world?
It's because we all live in a space called the 0 point field. And in the 0 point field, it's that place where all fields intersect, and all fields influence every other field. And what we've created in our database the ability to generate a field directed specifically to the target, and the target is whoever's account it's created in. And because of that quantum connection that exists between everyone and everything, that's how the information gets specifically to you if it's your account and not to your neighbor.
Here's two questions. Missy's asking, what about a non-talking person, but they can still make a sound? And Cosmos asked, what about babies crying?
Both of those would work.
Okay,
yeah, so you might have somebody who's autistic and they can only go, something like that. Just have them say that. Just have them make that noise. And a baby crying would be an adequate would be an adequate voice for the Spark scan. It's a great idea.
Okay, cool. Carl Hoveltson was asking, is it possible that some ingredients can make other ingredients ineffective if they're run at the same time?
That is possible, yes. Yeah, you'll have well, and you can also get a detox reaction. You know, if you're loading your body with too much information, you're essentially pushing it too fast, and you'll have reactions because things will be happening quicker than you want them to, maybe. But yeah, you'll find that some things can counteract each other. It's not critical with an info boost because it's information. It's not a chemistry. You're not going to poison yourself. You might make yourself a little bit uncomfortable for a while, but that'd be about it.
Over to you, Bob.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Cook, really appreciate you being on here today once again. You know, obviously in our world today, we've got some major health issues going on globally, shutting down businesses and economies and all kinds of stuff. And I know that recently we came out with something that was called Today's Immunity, and that was very timely. And you know, how confident can we be? I mean, you know, I've got mine running right now, and can we be confident? Not that we're going to, you know, run into a hospital and give this a test, but how confident can we be that we're getting all of the nutrition that we need to help combat ourselves? And I know it's not specific and we can't make any claims, but can we have confidence that we are indeed getting the nutrition that we need to build up our immunity?
I think that the best answer to that would be just let me tell you how I use it. And I think it's probably the same way you're using it, Bob.
Perfect.
I have the Today's Immunity Info Boost running right now as well. When we put it in, and here's the way I use Info Boost. I'll take the one that I'm interested in because I know that, for example, the Today's Immunity has the items we've included in that Info Boost have specific effect on immunity. And so I'll take the Today's Info Boost as an example, and then I'll run the Spark scan, and the computer is set up so that it automatically selects the top 10. Well, usually I'll go scroll down that 10 and I'll unselect maybe 4 or 5 of the bottom ones.
Wow.
And then I scroll down the application where it says all ingredients, and I open that up, and invariably what I see are the top items have a higher score than the top items in the immunity piece. So I'll take maybe 5 or 6 of those in addition, and then I set my Info Boost for 14 days. That's what I do because it's easy. And so I set it for 14 days and hit the activate button, and that's how I run them. Now,
Perfect.
Do I expect that that's going to protect me from the virus that causes COVID-19? The answer is yes, I do expect that. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to bet the ranch on that. I think what it does is I think it's going to help boost my immunity. And if I come in contact with that virus, it will improve the probability that I'll survive it. And that's okay. I mean, if that happens and I survive it, I'm good. But I'm not going to throw caution to the wind. I'm not going to, like you say, go into a hospital and let somebody sneeze on me just to prove it. I'm still going to use wisdom. I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to follow guidelines that experts tell me. You know, I'm not going to pretend to, I'm not going to be arrogant and think I know more than everybody else in the world. And I think that attitude and that approach then becomes a safe ground. And you know, like a lot of you, I'm really energy sensitive. When I turn on an Info Boost, within 15 seconds, I can feel the difference. So I'm sensitive to that stuff, but at the same time, I'm still, you know, that's the way I use it. And I still take vitamins. You know, I don't use Limbic Arc, and I haven't thrown away all my vitamins. I still take a lot. And I think that helps me stay healthy too.
Awesome. And you brought up something, excuse me, Daniel, but I'm gonna run with this for a second. You had mentioned that you use the Spark scan even with the extra boost. You got custom, obviously, that's, you know, that your body's reading into that, but you said you use the Spark scan even for today's immunity. What is the difference then between the predetermined hitting the green button for the predetermined and hitting the spark scanned for it to activate? What's the difference between the two, in your opinion, since you developed it?
Well, the difference is specificity. If I run a spark scan, because I'm giving the computer that real-time biometric information, my voice and the timing on the target where I hit the targets, that data then tells the computer who I am right now. And it helps. There's an algorithm that we use to analyze all of the boost ingredients on the server. And the biometric data and the spark make that algorithm run different every time. And it's that difference that then gives me the selection of these items are the ones you've responded most positively to in this moment in time. And even though I'm interested in today's immunity, so the reason I select that info boost is because I want the knowledge of these info boost items affect immunity. So I want that as part of my equation. But I also know that my body may be selecting things that are outside of that list that for whatever reason are timely. And so that's why I'll go in and I'll select some of the info boost and then go down and select some of the everything else, whatever scores high.
I see.
And I think that's the difference. You could just start the info boost and say, I don't want to be bothered with it. Just turn on all 50 items in today's info boost. And you can do that, but you may not need some of that stuff. And my feeling is, hey, it's too easy to do a spark scan. Why not?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And is it possible to use too many ingredients? Like when you do a custom boost, it automatically chooses 10 for you or selects 10. What if you chose them all? Like, what could happen? Could you detox or?
Well, yeah, you could detox. I think that too much of a good thing isn't necessarily a good thing. You need to drink water, but you don't want to drink, 10 gallons a day. That's not going to be good for you. And I think the info boost is the same. You can get, if you look at the world in a quantum sense, you might say, well, wait a minute, all this information's out in the quantum field anyway, isn't it? And the answer is yes, but it's not all targeted to you at the same time. Your body's not paying attention to it. When you turn an info boost on, you're taking that stuff and pointing it to you, and that's a new experience. So, my approach, because I've treated lots of patients and I know that it's easy to overtreat people, my approach is be a little more conservative, even if it takes a little bit longer. You don't have to fix all the problems today. If it takes 3 months or 4 months, that's okay. And as long as because the reason I say that is I've had patients come to me and I've treated them with absolutely the right thing, but too aggressively, and they've had a negative experience and they never come back. And when that happens, they then don't avail themselves to the solutions that I know I actually have. And I think the same could be true with Limbic Arc. If you just overdose yourself with information, you may push yourself so fast that you go, whoa, I'm not going to try that again. And so it may be counterproductive.
Cool. That's good information. A couple people are wondering, how can using the mouse be the same as a touch screen when you do the kinetic touch?
Well, as far as your computer's concerned, there is no difference between a mouse click and you touch the touch screen. The computer doesn't feel a difference. And what we're looking at is we're looking at the timing between when the target appears and when it gets clicked on. So it doesn't make a difference. Whether you have a touch screen or not, it doesn't make it. You can click it with a mouse, it's just as good.
Awesome. I think that's all I got. Bob, do you have anything else?
Yeah, Dr. Cook, how does all this work?
Well, it's magic.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny, but at the same token, all of us that are on here, for the most part, there's some that are familiar with the quantum realm. I've talked to some people that were more knowledgeable than me, and I've heard of it before, and it's kind of out there. So to come into this realm, especially in a place of health and wellness and what's going on, it's almost inexplainable. In your simplest terms, I'll just say 1 minute, how would you explain what we're doing here with the Limbic Arc?
We're delivering information to people in a way that their body can respond physiologically. If I show you my cell phone, or you look at your cell phone, you don't have to know how it works. You just have to know that it does work. And I think that's part of the limbic challenge we have, is when something is so new, and when you hear about somebody whose pain goes away, or somebody who stops smoking without any negative side effects, or whose vision comes back, you have to say, how does this work? I mean, that's the first question we ask as humans. But once everybody gets used to it, if it becomes as ubiquitous as a cell phone, you won't say, how is it possible that I can push these buttons and talk to somebody on the other side of the world? We don't even think about it. We just do it because we know it works. So I think as time passes, it'll become less and less of a problem. And one of the problems I have, Bob, answering the question is, I live in the weeds so deep that somebody asks me the question, and I think I have to spill my guts to them and tell them everything. But I don't know. I haven't figured the common ground here. I don't know what the simple explanation is, other than your body runs on information. Your body is built to process information, and information is defined as what is conveyed by an arrangement of things. So we have an arrangement of things that delivers information through a field effect, and your body, because of the way it's built, has the ability to receive that information and interpret it for its own good. That's what's happening.
Oh, that's perfect. I just got to remember that. I was writing down some notes. But hey,
I'll try to remember it too.
Yeah. One thing you said, well, it's what we're based on, which is the limbic arc. I'd never heard of the limbic system before, but I've heard of different parts of that limbic system. Can you just, for our guests here, just touch on the limbic system? Why is this called the limbic arc, and what is that?
Well, it got its name because your limbic system is the most ancient, evolutionarily, it's the most ancient part of your brain. It's sometimes called the reptilian brain because reptiles also have a limbic brain. It's kind of the crossroad between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And the cool thing about limbic arc is we're interfacing with the body below the level of the limbic system. In other words, we bypass this filter system, the reticular activation system, that filters out all of our low-level data processing. And instead of going to the conscious mind in an effort to change the subconscious being, we go to the subconscious being directly. And that's the reason why you see such fast effect, is because the information's getting where it really needs to be received.
Perfect. Got another question. I mean, I'm having fun. I hope you're okay with all this.
I'm having fun too.
Yeah, well, we've got some people that, I mean, they've been on this 2 days and it's woohoo, this is the greatest thing ever. And we've had some people that have been on a week and say, man, I'm not so sure about this. Well, what is the difference between the two? And I know it works in different people differently, and some people have more toxins. I know all of those different things, but from your view, because you've been dealing with, I'm sure hundreds and hundreds of people and seen the effects of this, what's your opinion on that?
I've stuck needles in hundreds or thousands of people, and acupuncture is when you look at the acupuncture system in the body, the acupuncture points are like switches along the electrical grid. And when you put the needle in the point, it's kind of like flipping the switch. And sometimes you think, well, if I flip the switch, I should see the effect. But what I've learned is you can put needles in someone and they can lay on the table for 10 or 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, boom, the lights come on, or all of a sudden the effect starts to manifest. And it's always been fascinating to me why the energy system can have a delayed response like that. I think the same is true with Limbic Arc, because we're dealing with even more subtle energy than a needle getting stuck in your body. But it's an energetic process. And so I think that some people, as you mentioned, some people are just more sensitive. You know, for me, because I've had a lot of experience with energy, in about 15 seconds, I'll actually physiologically feel the effect of the info boost turning on. And a lot of people are like that. But I think most people are not, and especially if you're just getting initiated into this whole concept of energy, and that I am an energetic being, not just a physical being. Once you get used to it, you start to pay attention to it. And I think when you pay attention, you then learn what it feels like. A lot of people probably have the effect. They don't feel it because they don't know what to feel. So that you have to get some experience. That's one of the reasons, though, I turn my info boost on for 14 days. Well, there's two reasons, and I know I'm rambling here, I'm going beyond your question, but I put them on for 14 days because I know that it takes time for my chemical body to catch up with my energetic body. And so I might feel the effect energetically, but I want it to be sustained long enough to actually have a chemical response that's you know, the benefit. I want to receive it at every level. The other reason I do that is because you can actually overdo it with energy. I remember a number of years ago, I had a doctor who was using our technology, and we had the capability to do what was called imprinting, where you could take computer data and load it into a carrier. Well, this doctor, because of the technology, every day she would get up and she would scan herself, find out what energy pattern she resonated to, and she would then give that to herself. And every day she was giving herself something different. And I saw her at a seminar, and she looked like she was about ready to die. She had this gray, ashen appearance, and she didn't look healthy. And I said to her, I didn't go up and say, hey, you don't look healthy. But I went up and, you know, I started talking to her, and I said, how's your health? And she said, I'm not doing too well. I said, well, what are you doing? And she explained it to me. And I said, whoa, that's what's going wrong here. Don't do that. Your body cannot adjust chemically as fast as it changes energetically. And if you're giving yourself something new and different every day, it's very likely that over time, you're going to overload your chemical body, and you're actually going to make yourself sick. So for that reason, I don't get too anxious about changing my info boosts. I leave them for about 14 days, like I said, and then but I always have one running. It makes a difference in my life, I believe.
Awesome. And one last question from me, and I'll turn it back to you, Daniel.
I'm going to pop one question in here too after you, Bob.
Okay. I'll turn it back to you. From a marketing standpoint, Dr. Cook, and I know that you've been into the science of this, and I really appreciate you answering all these questions, but how unique is the Limbic Arc to the marketplace?
I don't know of anything like it in the marketplace currently.
That would make it pretty unique.
Yeah. Well, and there may be something there I'm just not aware of, but I'm not aware of anything that's like it.
Awesome. Yeah, we haven't either, but this is new in the space, and I've heard of, you know, stickers people have, and I've heard of, you know, frequencies and machines and different stuff out there, but I've never heard anything like this. And from our testimonies, it's been very effective as well. And like you said, you know, we're still adding to the library.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a fun technology, and it's great to hear these testimonials. It's very gratifying to know that it's making a difference. That's really our goal, is to improve quality of life.
Yes. Amen. Back to you, Dan. Thanks, Dr. Cook.
Carl's got a quick question.
I just want to jump in here. Now, I'm looking at a lot of the stuff that's coming in here, Dr. Cook, and I get asked this all the time. People are always asking you about different ailments. You know, it could be Parkinson's, it could be cancer. It could be whatever it is. And I mean, we do have a lot of different boosts that are in here that deal with different parts of the body, like cardiovascular and stuff like that. I guess the question is, I mean, if someone's asking me about epilepsy or Parkinson's or whatever it is, how can we determine which would be the best ingredients to focus on? Like, where would you start on doing like a research to figure out what actual ingredients or which boosts in our library would be the best ones to use? I know it's a tough question. It's because it goes to a vast amount of things.
Yeah, and because we're not in the business of diagnosing or treating illness,
right?
I think that the name of a disease is just a name. It's basically, you have this symptom pattern, and it's common. We see it commonly, and so we're going to give it a name so it's easy to reference the next time we see it. And that's what a disease name is.
Yeah.
But this symptom pattern will manifest differently in different people. Let me explain it a different way. Some families die of heart attacks, and some families die of cancer, and some families have asthma, and some families have other ailments in common. And the reason why we have these genetic commonalities is because genetically we express stress in that way. That's our kind of the chink in the armor, so to speak. So my dad's family, for example, my dad and all of his siblings died of heart attacks. And that's kind of what cooks do. When we're done, we die of a heart attack. And so if my dad or his siblings contracted some kind of a virus or a bacteria or a fungus, they would probably express that through the cardiovascular system because that's their weakest system. Someone else might express it through a manifestation of cancer because cancer is kind of where their weak link is. I know I'm saying more than we need to, but the point is people shouldn't get too hung up on the name of their disease. It's just an expression of symptoms. And so if I have epilepsy as an example, what I would do when I run the spark scan is I would talk about my epilepsy. No, and the reason I would do that is because I know that when you talk about a condition, your voice energy changes, and that voice energy will then be received by the computer, and that will be part of the spark equation. So my boost will then be biased toward whatever the topic is I'm talking about. So I talk about epilepsy for 5 or 10 seconds or so. Then I hit the targets, and boom, there's my info boost results or my scan results. And I would just take those. And again, I don't get too hung up on, is vitamin C good for this, or is, vitamin D good for that? It's like if C shows up and D shows up, it's like, I'll take them.
Awesome. You know what? That's like the perfect answer because, literally your body, when you talk about it, your body's going to tell you what would be good for that. So thank you very much for putting that out.
And just so you know, what you call rambling is exciting information to us.
Well, good. Thanks for letting me ramble.
Michelle had a really interesting question. She said, let's say I'm allergic to something physical. Will I also be allergic to that energy or info, like in an info form? Will you get the same allergic reaction, I guess?
I don't think so. And let me tell you why I don't think so. Now, that's a qualified, I don't think so. It may happen, but there's a principle in homeopathy called the law of similars. And it means like cures like. So let's say that I'm allergic to ragweed. What that means is when I get exposed to ragweed pollen, my body mounts a response, and that response is it's an IgE mediated response, and so I might get sneezes and runny nose and hives and itchies, etc. You can take ragweed and you can dilute it. It's called attenuated. So you attenuate it, and you can dilute it, and then you can dilute it again, and you can dilute it again, and at some dilution, I can now take that ragweed antigen, and it will actually stop all of my negative reactions to the antigen. So it's a way to cure allergies, but it's a homeopathic principle called like cures like. So let's say that I'm allergic to, beet. I think beet's in our library, beetroot or beet leaves. Let's say I'm allergic to beet. It may be that my allergy is caused by some inappropriate processing of the information contained on the beet. And so if I get an info boost and it shows beet as the ingredient I should be getting, I would still turn it on. I would pay attention to see if I respond negatively. But what I would anticipate, or what I would expect it to do, is actually to mitigate the reaction that I would otherwise have to beet. Now, I have to put a caution in here. Let's say that you have an anaphylactic reaction to peanuts. So some people are so allergic to peanuts that if they eat them, they actually go into anaphylaxis. So if you have an allergy that's that sensitive, I'd be careful if peanuts show up. And I don't know if peanuts are in the library. I don't think they are. But if peanuts showed up and you were going to turn it on, I would turn it on just momentarily, and because you might want to go in and turn it off if you start to have any kind of a reaction. So, but again, because we're dealing with pure energy, the probability of that happening is incredibly remote. So I don't want to put anybody on a red alert here, because I don't think there's any reason for red alert. But at the same time, just like I don't turn on the info boost and then dive into COVID virus, at the hospital, same thing would be true with any allergy. I don't expect a response, but I pay attention.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're running over time here, and I know everyone just doesn't want this to end. And
we can do it again.
Yeah. Okay, good. We will, because there's more questions, and we really, really, really appreciate you coming on here. I'm sure I speak for everybody here, and this was amazing. It was incredible. Not only do we thank you for answering all these questions, but for creating this technology and coming on here with us. We can tell what a big heart you have and how you just care about people, and it just shows. And that's who we're attracting here at Quantum Nomads. We're just a bunch of people with big hearts that care and love each other and want to help each other on the journey. So I guess you attracted us. Right? We're all just a bunch of people.
Or vice versa, we're just, we're all attractors here.
Yeah. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts.
Well, thank you. It's been great to be here.
Thank you. And with that, all the new people that are on here, get back to the person that invited you to this and get all your questions answered. If they're not, the best thing is just to try it. Just try it and see what happens. Everyone's different. Fool around with it. We have videos on stuff. We got a Facebook group that you can join at quantumnomads.com. We got a Facebook page where you can watch testimonials and watch previous Formula Fridays at quantumnomads.info. We meet here 7 days a week at 3 p.m. at quantumnomads.tv. We're here to help you because we believe, tomorrow is Super Boost Saturday with our mad scientist, Carl Hoveltson. We call him the mad scientist. He's going to help you with your boosts. If you want to maximize your boost, if you have questions, show up tomorrow at 3 p.m. and right here at quantumnomads.tv, and you'll get a lot of help with that. This is recorded for all the people that didn't make it on this call. And just remember, what we can't do alone, we can do together.